Ferguson. Valbert skorar! Valbert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Ferguson skorar mark! Glæsilega! Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og Haraldur Ingólfsson!
Hello and welcome back to the best pod ever. Oh my god, I managed to get through it.
Ever.
The best pod ever. You're too late. You're too late. That's the end of the episode then. I finally did it.
Ever. Besta.
Best pod ever. I am Ragnar. I am joined by
Tryggvi.
and
Jamie.
And we are here, as always, to talk about Besta deildin in Iceland, about the footy. And this is a pseudo double header today, because we have had 2 match days since our last recording, because the games were on Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, Monday. Tight schedule of games. But let us hark back to the prediction table. I think there is someone in dead last on 4 points currently. I guess there's someone in dead last on 0 still. Someone else also trailing with 4 points. And I think one of us has like 12 or something.
I think it might have been 13, but let's not dwell on that too long.
All right. But it's your chance to catch up today. So, which one of you fine fellows predicted round 3?
That was me.
That was you. How do you feel about your predictions?
So I think spiritually I was bang on. The teams just didn't quite manifest all of it, but I think I was pretty right on all of it, to be honest.
Okay. Sure. Let's go over it then. Jamie, do you have the predictions ready?
I do indeed.
Keflavik Breiðablik.
That was predicted as a 1-0 Breiðablik win.
So here, and then this again, spiritually I got this correct, because I said Breiðablik is going to struggle to score. They're not going to kick into gear. They're only going to score 1 goal, and they scored 0 goals and 0-0 draw. So that's pretty spiritually correct.
Yeah, you get at least a sort of pat on the back for that one. So it ended 0-0, like we say. Iyakawa, do you have the prediction for that?
Yeah, that was a predicted 3-1 ER win.
3-1 ER win, and it ended 1-1.
Yeah, I sort of said that I knew Kawa was going to score. I said the Kawa would get into their groove. They kind of did, but the inside and Steinford and everything. When it's inside, it all throws up, and sort of all bets are off.
Sitting pretty on 0 points so far. Íbjaraf KR.
That was predicted as a 2-1 KR win.
Correct result. Ended 6-2 to KR.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at some point the KR train would end, but not this time. But
all they do is score and concede. But for now, scoring more than they concede. Thor Fram.
Tryggvi predicted that one as a 2-2 draw.
Oh, Thor grinding out the 1-0. win.
Yeah, and again, spiritually pretty correct. It was a 1-1 draw. It just the Fram just didn't score the 1 goal, so spiritually pretty correct.
Víkingur-Stjarnan?
Predicted as a 1-1 draw.
Oh,
again, I think it was also a draw. It just I think Jamie and I were talking on the chat, and that Stjarnan had a better team. Víkingur had better players. It just sort of ended in the end. But yeah, I think that was a draw, kind of. That's half a point at least.
And then Valur FH?
Was predicted as a 2-1 Valur win.
Okay, that's correct result there. Valur winning 3-0.
Bang on.
Bang on. So is that 4 points total?
That is indeed 4 points.
And then I guess a lot of sort of spiritual, or karmic points that you can cash in the afterlife. All right. So, Jamie, all you need is 1 point to pull ahead.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. What did you say would happen in Kawa Keflavik?
I predicted a 2-0 Kawa win.
Keflavik, dark horse in it, winning 2-1.
Yeah, you know, in spirit, I felt like Kawa were going to actually get something to kickstart their season, but apparently not.
Apparently not, indeed. What did you say for Fram IBVF?
I had a 2-1 Fram win.
Okay, correct result. They won 5-1. So failing to beat Thor, losing 1-0, and then coming back with a 5-1 victory over IBVF.
Yeah, I figured after the Kawa game, IBVF might focus a bit more on defending, but I guess we're going with just vibes still.
Yeah, vibes famously work. Kawa showed it last year. All you have to do is concede a lot of goals and you'll stay up. It's okay. Kawa FO, what did you say?
I had a 2-2 draw.
Oh, upsetting for you. 4-2 to Kawa.
It's always upsetting for me.
Yeah, not for me. Breivik Thor, surely you predicted Breivik there.
I did. I had a 3-1 Breivik win.
Okay, but they won 4-0. Stjarnan Valur?
I had a 2-0 Stjarnan win.
Oh, 4-2 to Valur. And then Vikingur IA, what did you say?
I had another 3-1 win, but this time for Vikingur.
Okay, so correct result there. They won 4-0. So you got Vikingur IA and you got Breivik Thor.
And Fram IBVF.
And Fram IBVF. So you got 6 points there. So you're sitting pretty on 10.
It's an improvement. I'll take it.
You will take it, yeah. It's a 50% improvement over last time. If you continue at this rate, you'll be getting infinite points in no time. Do you boys have any musings, any particular musings about the games themselves before we go into a heated discussion over VAR and its possible benefits?
I paid attention to both Stjarnan games over the past week in my typical fashion of loving to curse them based off last season. And I am impressed with them going forward and very not impressed with them going backwards. Yeah, I mean, they lost my all-time favourite Besta defender, Gus Kjeldsen, to injury early in the Vikingur game. So I think that's had a big effect. But I don't know whether we're too early in the season to say that it's a worrying point for them. But they're shipping a lot of goals, and these are two games which they were well and truly in, and with some more defensive ability probably could have snatched something from.
What do you think it means for their... See, I mean, these were two difficult games, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I think maybe in terms of the title hopes that they may have themselves, and some others may have pushed towards them, and I mean, we put them second, so I suppose we have as well. They'll maybe look back on these later in the season as missed opportunities to put a dent in rivals in Vikingur, and the way Valor have been going the last couple of games, maybe rivals in those as well, from getting a point or even 3 points. I mean, Stjarnan were well in the Vikingur game, and then there was one substitution, well, a triple sub that they made, where they pulled off 3 of their better players and immediately conceded. And it just sort of left me wondering why on that decision, but also like the overall takeaway from the two games was the defensive worries. They always look a bit shaky, particularly straight after scoring.
Yeah, I think the Valor game is definitely the bigger one. Vikingur one was sort of a lesson learned. Like you said, the subs didn't maybe quite come off, but it's also when you're playing the sub game with Vikingur, you're never going to win. They can bring, countless internationals off the bench. I think the Valor result is a little bit more worrying. I mean, Valor have now seemingly kicked into gear. They're going to win the league and become European champions in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah, I mean, that's at home against Valor. It's worrying. And I took some of the goals they were conceding. The first goal, second goal was deflection. It was a corner, and then for the last one. But I think the second and the third was not super good defending. It was all way too easy to get the shots off. The defenses were nowhere in sight. I thought the goalkeeper looked a little bit slow, especially in the third goal, I think, to react to the shot. He didn't even react to the first one. Sorry, I'm talking about the first and the third. I keep putting in the wrong goals. The first and the third are the one to worry about. So the first one, the goalkeeper didn't even move, which I don't know, maybe he saw it late or something. Maybe I didn't see the right angle. The third one, I thought he sort of dived after the ball was past him already, and there was no defender inside. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely the worrying type, especially scoring. When you score 2 goals, you go at home against Valur and lose. That's a worrying sign.
That's fair. How do we feel about Breiðablik, though, if we want to be talking about teams sort of up towards the top? Are they going to be happy with their start to the season?
Moderately. I think there is still this concern, and maybe by the time this pod comes out, they would have signed a striker, which is the main talk of the town right now, that they kind of need a striker, although, then they put 4 past Thor. But I think that was maybe a plaster on the band-aid, on the wound, sorry, a band-aid on the... rather than a solution. It was, some of them were nice goals, but it was kind of late on. It took them a while to break them down. They failed to score. They failed to beat Keflavik. I know it's early on in the season, but Ólafur has had them for a while, so they should be firing a bit better than they are. So I don't know. I think that whether they get a striker or what sort of striker they get will be a big answer to that question.
And I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the league leaders, the goal machines, or goal machine, I guess they are one machine. KR not performing the way that we predicted them to perform. Or is it just because they've had a relatively easy start to the season, do you think?
I'd say on paper it probably looks like one of the easier starts, but you've still got to beat what's in front of you, and they have been doing that quite convincingly. I would say that probably maybe internally they won't be happy about the goals they're shipping a little bit still. It's not as bad as some of the times last season, but you'd think there was one instance in the EBVAF game, I think it was 6-1 at this point, so maybe everyone had sort of switched off and was thinking about the ferry ride home and everything, but 6-1 up with 75 minutes gone and you've got one defender back and concede. It's maybe a bit of a concerning aspect, but like I say, it's 6-1, so maybe they didn't really care anymore, and who could blame them? But yeah, I think I saw it I don't know the exact figure, but it's some sort of record in terms of the amount of goals scored in the first 4 games of a season.
Yeah, the first team to score 14 in the first 3 games since 1959.
Yeah, so pretty dangerous going forward. And undefeated after 4 games is nothing to be sniffed at. I will say, in my typical cynical looking at KR hat, they started pretty well and unbeaten for 5-6 games at the start of last season, and then only picked up points in 5 more games after that. So there could be a pattern. They'll be hoping not.
Yeah, but if you look at the bottom of the table, 12 points, you're basically safe at this point. We have three teams on 1 point, and then EA on 2 points. But like I said before, KR have played exclusively teams from the bottom half. Thor being if you're just looking at the points tally, being the toughest game. But Thor should be pretty happy with the start of their season, despite the fact that they've lost 2. They have won 2.
Yeah, I think both the promoted teams look spunky, for lack of a better word. I think Keflavik maybe a little. I think I'm getting sort of EBVAF vibes off of Keflavik, from last season. I've been quite impressed. They're not super spectacular in any sort of way, but I think they've strengthened well. They have some quality up top. I mean, you could tell when they have injuries to some of their key players, and so that's going to be a big thing. They need to keep Stefan Ljubicic fit. But yeah, they have a young squad. Their keeper is quite young, and he's made a few clangers, but they're going to grow, and it's all talent, and so I think they're going to be quite happy in the FO. I think it's been a tough start for them, and they've done okay. It's I think like we spoke about last week. It's more about getting these. Now they just need to keep going. They've gotten over maybe the excitement of the first home games and playing at the new stadium or pitch or whatever you want to call it. So now it's just about the monotony of. Honeymoon period is over now. It's the normal life. They need to just get 3 points on a rainy day in Stoke. That's what they need to do now.
Is there any belief that FH are capable of getting the 3 points on a rainy day, or are we starting to see a true picture of FH unfolding?
I think it's still a bit too early. Like they are the youngest team in this league. I think someone brought up the point that they're like a lot of teams have announced that they're going to make big changes. Valur or FO and all these sort of teams, they're going to make be a completely different team. And FO is the only team that's really done that. They've completely revamped their side. The new manager, a completely new team, very young team. So you can see they're a bit naive in the way the way they're pressing is quite naive. Some of their defending is naive as a word for it. You can use a stronger word than that as well. So they're not playing well, but they have some good players. It's a young team. It's a process. Kauer also had a pretty terrible season last year. So I think this season will just kind of, if they truly believe in this process, they need to just keep going and believe that they won't get relegated. And then hopefully by next year or in 2 years, they can have a team that's fulfilling the goals that they set, which is to have a team that's maybe not going to win leagues, but challenging towards the top and have a a more sustainable team that they can sell some of these kids and whatever. That's not something they can build in a few weeks or a few months, but they're not playing super well. The defending is terrible. They're being sort of dragged across the line by a few good players. We'll see.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, objectively, Jori Kalli is also not a bad coach, so they've got that to fall back on as well. I was a staunch defender of his process in clearing house in our pre-season preview, and he received a lot of critics for how he was getting rid of stalwart FH players. In hindsight, maybe I look at that and maybe he should have kept someone around as a bit of experience in the dressing room, just to sort of nurture some of these younger players through it. But yeah, I mean, like Trygve said, it's been a big change in regime there, and it's going to take a while.
But enough about the games. We hinted at it at the top of the episode that we were going to have a talk about VAR. Trygve, do you want to tell the good folks why we think it's time to talk about VAR?
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of touched on it a few times over the seasons. Whether we've sort of wondered whether we should have VAR. I think we asked the question a few years ago with sort of split results, but it's getting louder and louder. Some of our neighbors have already gotten it, have sort of gotten VAR, and then we put a poll to our audience on whether it's time to implement VAR in Iceland, and 70% of people said yes. 22 said no, and the rest was a maybe. So so over 70% of people were not against it, which I think is a bit telling. There's been a lot of critique over referees, and it's not an angle we particularly want to talk about maybe, but I don't know, is it time to introduce it? Is it time to analyze? Should we maybe talk a little bit about how the pros and cons and what it would mean to have VAR in Iceland?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should. So there's two. It's in Iceland. The question isn't just VAR or no VAR. There's actually a middle ground, which is VAR light or VAR light. So it's more a question of, do we want VAR, and if yes, what kind? And it seems like for Iceland, it's probably more likely to be the light version than the full version, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it already this weekend. I think it was the first, or at least the first one that I noticed, occasion of the TV cameras coming with the cloth to wipe away the rain from the cameras, and that's I think Jamie, I think you talked about it at some point as well. That's a challenge as well. It seems like a very low tech challenge and quite a thing, something we shouldn't have to deal with in 2026. But yeah, I mean, how are they going to set up these cameras? We're going to have people wiping the rain off so we can actually see, like, 'cause sometimes we have these replays of people trying to analyze, was it offside, was it a goal, was it a foul, and you just can't see anything. It's so. I mean, we can't afford like some sort of crazy camera that's over the stadium on a wire or anything. But it needs to be set up. It needs to be portable. It needs to be done in a way where, yeah, it's cheap and it's also set off away from the wind, I guess, or in rain, in places where the rain can't get it as much.
Surely they've accounted for this in the system, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, based on how we've seen it implemented in some countries, they probably haven't accounted for it. But I think one of the key things is maybe if they decide, the powers that be decide to go for it, to do it properly. I don't mean by that like ignore the VAR light option, but I remember reading that, and I don't know whether they went for it in the end, but when the Pharaohs were looking at introducing VAR, they were talking about giving one game a week VAR coverage, which to me just brings the whole competition not into disrepute, but like, how can you have some games in the same competition with technology and without technology? Like, you're not going to get the consistency which VAR was designed to try and help with if you do that.
No, I think that's a ridiculous thing to suggest, right?
I mean,
yeah, like I say, I don't know if they went for it in the end that way, but I saw it talked about a couple of times that they were just gonna, one game a week. Maybe that was just for the trial period. I'm not sure.
But I mean, to play devil's advocate, does it because I think there was a study or something that said that there was an accuracy difference of like 6% or something in correct decisions if you want to introduce VAR. Well, I'm not sure how true that is, but let's assume that's true for this discussion. That it makes 6% better decisions than humans. To play devil's advocate, is it then better to have 6% on one game? Would it help a little bit and try to introduce it that way, rather than to have to pay millions and try to all introduce it all? Like, is it better to get a little bit of it, get a bit more better accuracy, make this competition a little bit more fair, or is it do we have to do it all at once? Does it have to be, all or nothing?
I think you have to be able to do every game each week. Otherwise, how do you pick which game is deserving of the increase in accuracy?
The disciplinary committee.
Ah, yes. The coffee morning.
I mean, I see the point that, like, if it's going to be one game a week and you manage to, like, actually distribute it fairly, whatever that means, then in theory, better than not. You get a 6% bump for one game a week, and in theory, you've just eliminated a number of incorrect calls, and you've tried to do it in a fair way. Like, yeah, in theory, that might be better than not, but it invites so much nonsense where, like, the discussion is just going to be like, oh, this game had VAR, but we wouldn't have lost our game if we'd had VAR, and there's going to be talk of like Vikingur and Valur getting it more often than others, or I don't know. It's just going to invite all this talk of bias and corruption and people being, just salty about the fact that it was a different game than theirs, and it's going to miss like the majority clearly of decisions, and people are just going to focus on that. I think it's just it runs the risk of being pretty poor PR as well.
Yeah, the way I look at it is if you have it for just one game a week and you get to that last week of the season and you've got the title on the line and relegation on the line on the same game day, how do you pick where to send it? Like, which do you deem to be a more important game?
You know they're going to give it to the title race.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. In that case, if you had both of those things going on, you would have to give it to a mid-table pointless game.
From Koa. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But like seriously, I think you would have to do that, because otherwise it's so unfair to be like, we actually care more about the title race than the relegation.
I mean, what would be more? You would have to give it. I mean, if you're being like absolutist, you should give it to the relegation battle, right? Because that means more. Or does it? Like, it doesn't mean more to be relegated or to be champions. Like, is it more of a butterfly effect to be relegated, or is it?
Yeah, surely relegation.
But well, I guess in the case where, like, the first and second in the league, yes, there is a difference, but they both get European places and European money coming in. Whereas relegation and not relegation is a bigger difference than Champions League or Europa League.
Yeah, I would say relegation is the more impactful thing for a club.
Maybe I'm speaking still with hurt from decisions last year, which have negatively influenced me, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something. The estimates for a full-scale VAR rollout, and surely this is for VAR Lite. I'm not sure though. Is that it's somewhere between $700,000 and $1.2 million annually, which is what, like 100 million kroner less per year. I don't know what the exchange rate is currently, but something between 50 and 100 million kroner, right? And then the question is, where's the money going to come from?
Yeah. I mean, KYC keeps cutting. I mean, they just cut a bunch of funding to the league, as with clubs as well. So yeah, we can't expect clubs to pay it. But yeah.
Is there? Maybe I'm just speculating here, and knowing FIFA, I'm probably wildly wrong to expect that they would offer any money for this. But is there some incentive from FIFA to implement technology that they've developed?
I mean, they don't have money for that.
They have bribes to pay.
Allegedly.
I mean, yeah, but is there any precedent for that? Is that happening anywhere?
I'm not sure. I'm purely speculating and wondering whether there would be, whether from UEFA or from FIFA, like incentive to, I guess, in quotations, develop the league by using technology.
So if we put aside cost and things like that, do we want VAR? Like, I guess the main thing that people complain about, or there's two things. One of them is the sort of vibe loss that occurs because you can't celebrate anything anymore, type thing, because everything gets checked and there's no there's no happiness, true happiness in the moment. And then the other negative point is the fact that the accuracy isn't bumped up to 100%, and we see high profile mistakes in foreign leagues every week. So then the question is, I guess, is it worth the delay in games and the frustration over incorrect VAR calls? Is that worth it for the money and for just a 6% accuracy bump and moving the game towards this? Do you guys think it's good?
I have a bit of a rebuttal to the celebrations argument, because having been fortunate or unfortunate enough to have been to games involving VAR, whichever way you look at it, I have never, in the moment of a goal being scored, not celebrated thinking that VAR's going to intervene, and then arguably you get double the celebration if it's passed, and as the opposing team's fans you get a chance to celebrate if it's ruled out. There's that aspect to it. And looking at it from the, it's not perfect aspect as well. It's not, but I think I've seen, and purely my opinion obviously, but I don't think it's been implemented very well. And I have never thought that the technology was the problem, more so the people using it. Particularly if you look at the Premier League as an example, I think that's the prime argument for that, in that it's still sort of a bit of a referee's boys club, and how can we protect our mates, and the personal opinion implementing of the rules where you don't get it the same depending on who's doing it. I've always thought that VAR should have a set of specifically trained officials to sit in the booth and know how to work the software and know what they're looking for, rather than just you pull a ref off the pitch from the day before and stick him in behind a monitor.
Yeah, I've always found that very weird because you don't need a referee, like a pitch referee, to do this job because it is fundamentally a very different job. You do want some of the same skill sets. You want sort of an understanding of the rules, but there's a lot of it that doesn't really map over between these two jobs. There's no need, to get the pitch referee and stick him in a room. I agree. I've always found it weird.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's not being implemented correctly in Premier League, what hope does Iceland have? You talk about boys club and all this sort of stuff. It's, and I mean, yeah, you can. I sort of agree with you guys that I guess there is a world where this would have been implemented in a way where there's a VAR global corporation, VAR Incorporated, that where just a bunch of people sit in a room and look at games from all over the world, and they are the VAR people. Maybe we'll get there at some point. I guess AI will be that at some point. In a great new world, but. Yeah, I mean, the issue is always like training. Where are you going to get the people? We barely have enough referees as it is. Do we have enough people to have VAR referees and lower division referees? Or is the lower division just going to end up having random dads of the players refereeing at that point? We're going to run out of referees.
Well, those random dads of the players could become the VAR referees.
Job creation.
But I mean, how would we do this? Like, if we're gonna, like, how would we do this?
I mean, I think you can probably train up some VAR screen lookers if you want to abandon the whole referee, bringing them in there. You could probably find them no problem in Iceland. You'd find just people who are willing to do that, and then maybe they'll be cheaper than referees. I don't know what the deal is.
Hey, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'd love to be paid to sit and watch a screen and make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. You get a bunch of those like click workers, get some like random scores of people overseas, and then just sort of crowdsource it and just take popular opinion. Was it an offside? 51% say yes. Offside it is.
I mean, there are people at FIFA who would love that, who would love to turn football into a reality TV show.
Oh shit, that would be so good. You could vote with your phone. You can text whether it was offside or not.
Through the official FIFA app. Yeah, you vote.
Oh yeah. And you use
people think delays are bad now, just wait.
You have to spend coins to vote, and you get coins by farming gems.
And then we have VAR like ad breaks. So like we have a break and play. And you have like 5 flags that the managers can call, and then it goes to people to vote, and then Maroon 5 or something comes on the pitch to play a concert while the people vote on whether it was an offside or not. Oh, that's football.
That is football. And then they can also, if someone has like VAR Premium, they can activate like multi-ball, and then there'll be like multiple balls on the pitch and stuff like this. This might be better. This will pay for itself. No? You don't like it, Jamie?
There's a market for it. Maybe it's a sort of baller league proposition. They'll take that on.
That's what, maybe Besta deildin needs to pivot and realize they're never going to compete with the Premier Leagues of the world, and instead start to implement some sort of non-standard, draw some eyes to those screens.
If we get, sorry to be serious again, but like you talked about Faroe Islands, right? Like the fact that the Faroe Islands are even talking about this and we're nowhere near implementing anything, that says a little bit about, I don't know if it makes it worse or better. I have no idea, but I mean, it means that it's not impossible, I guess.
I mean, surely it's not impossible. 50 to 100 million kroner a year should be possible. There's always money in the banana stand. Like, there must be a way.
Is this not what sponsors of the league are for as well? Like, where's that money going?
Yeah, exactly.
You could have screen on-field review brought to you by Hertz rental cars. Other rental car
like
options are available.
Yeah, it's like when you watch an American stream and it's like the Lexus Extra Time stuff.
I bet it has to be Icelandic. It has to be like Harðfiskur VAR or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good. I mean, the obvious financial solution is that they're going to somehow take it from the clubs, and that would not. That would have to be very carefully implemented, because if you're just going to stick, a divided by 12 sort of number and give it to all the clubs, it impacts your Thors a little bit harder than your Vikingers and your Valurs.
Yeah, then I think we start seeing clubs. We start seeing that could sort of snowball into either growing or growing the league to more clubs to try to split the costs, or making the league smaller again to increase the quality because people can't afford it or something. I think that finances in Iceland are already murky enough, and I'm not sure the clubs can afford this. They're barely hanging on, and most of them. And
is this where the argument for the VAR light comes in? As I believe that's like portable trucks, essentially, that can cart around the country. So theoretically, the league could own 6 of those and send them out each week, and then the clubs can maybe contribute but don't have to front the whole cost themselves, if it's not permanent equipment that stays in their stadium.
That's probably the way they would do it, right? You're not going to set up this equipment in all these small stadiums around the country. Someone like, I don't know, like the clubs that are likely to go down, like your IBFs, maybe Thor if they weren't playing so well at the moment, Keflavik, that sort of stuff. Like, why would they want to go through all this hassle? It's unlikely. It might be worth it in the long term, but it's a financial strain in a kind of a ridiculous sort of way. If every club that ever makes it into Besta deildin has to do this. So I think the portable one's the only way that makes sense in Iceland, is the only sort of half future-proof option. It's probably the one that they would do. They would somehow find a way to make it be more expensive, though. I'm sure
we would have to just play every single IBF home game like in a row, because otherwise the VAR truck would never make it to the island. Like it would constantly be delays or something. It's like we would.
Yeah. I go back to my thoughts of 6% accuracy bump. Does it matter?
It depends. I mean, like I said, I'm probably coming from a place of hurt still from last season, as I've like hammered into death at this point. But I immediately can think of 2 games last season that Vestra were involved in where VAR and that 6% would have made a difference. And those 2 games, given how tight the relegation battle was last season, would have been the difference between staying in the league and not.
Yeah, I mean, we had moments this weekend as well. Thor, the equalizer, did they go ahead 1-0 with a perfectly legal goal against Breiðablik? That's a point or 3 points that it could mean a lot as well. So it's not like it's only Vestre that suffered from it. So it does. 6% is the average, I guess. So it's going to be for some teams. For some games it's going to increase it by 20%, and a lot of games maybe nothing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to stay neutral for this whole segment. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of VAR, to be honest. I was at a game this week and here in Denmark, and there was a lot of VAR checks. One for a penalty that was then given, that didn't look like a penalty when I watched it live. And then it was given, and waited 30 seconds. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being negative and grumpy old man, but I hate it. Every time VAR came on the screen that is a VAR check, I just got upset. I don't like it.
There is something extra bad when VAR makes the wrong decision or makes like a bad call. Like, I'm more inclined to just accept it as part of the game. It happens without VAR, but when VAR intervenes and you just cannot understand how they made this call, then it just ruins the whole game much more than a refereeing mistake normally would. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I can definitely see that argument. It's you can. I'm basically saying again what you said, but you can accept human error. But when you've got multiple eyes and multiple different camera angles, and they still manage to come to the wrong decision, it's infuriating.
Yeah. So it's.
I don't know. We would have to there has to be like a time limit on this. I know a lot of people have said this, and I don't know exactly how to implement it. I think this whole thing of you can only get a minute. I don't know if I fully agree with it, but I mean, we saw in Spain this weekend I think it was Sociedad against Rayo, and it was I think it was like 8 or 9 minute break, and yeah, it led to a penalty, and it was a whole hullabaloo. And I guess it was correct in the end. But like a 9 minute break in the game, that's insane. But yeah,
it's almost it's almost halftime.
Time for Maroon 5. They can get a few songs in there.
God, yeah. I mean, I don't love it. I don't necessarily think that the performance bump is worth it. I think also that like the offside checking, I'm not a big fan of, because I think it just, I don't know. I would rather have a human evaluate it in the moment and pick whether it's offside or not, rather than analyze millimeters and whether this part of the body is the shoulder or the arm and this nonsense. Like I'm really not a huge fan of the offside checking particularly.
Is there a world in which, as pure speculation, there's a chance to take the good and eliminate the bad, and sort of, there's all these different sports that use video assistance and video replays effectively, or at least more effectively than football does. And one of the things that's been one of my talking points about it for years is, why are we not taking like the good parts of it from like rugby and cricket, and tennis even, where it works well, where if it's a captain's or a coach's review and you get 2 a game and that's it, and you just have to choose which is the more egregious decision that you want to review. Or I think in rugby they only intervene if the on-field referee is unsure of his decision and asks for a bit of help himself, and then they review it on the big screen together with conversation between a video assistant and the referee watching the same thing and consulting the rules and making sure that they're coming to a fair decision. Maybe it was done and I'm just not aware that they paid attention to how other sports implement technology, but it sure doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't feel like it at all. I'm sure they just sort of willingly ignored it because we're better than other sports. But I mean, talking about this sort of having to ask for a review as the referee, I could sort of get on board, because I don't really enjoy the power dynamic between the on-field referee and the VAR and what you've seen often, like in the Premier League, for example. I think it was the Premier League, watching one of these videos where they show, what the discussion was between the on-field referee and the VAR person, and it was just, we should dig up this video. The VAR guy was so pushy on the on-field ref, and the on-field ref clearly didn't agree with the decision of VAR. VAR kind of just pulled rank and forced him to make the call that they wanted him to make. And I feel like that's not what we were promised, really. Like, we were told that the on-field referee was the man in charge still, but it doesn't really seem to be that way. And have you ever seen them go to the screen and not make the decision that VAR is asking for?
Like twice in the last 5-6 years.
I've never seen it happen.
Yeah, and it's also, I think there was I don't know if it's the same case we were talking about, but there was also like I think it was in Spain or Italy where I think it was Spain maybe, where like the VAR assistant was, basically saying like, oh, come and look at this. It's at this potential like, oh, look at this. It's probably like a handball or a penalty or something. And like, that's not the point of the VAR. Is not to, tell them what they think it is. It's to exactly like support and give evidence. But yeah, it's also the way, to Jamie's point a little bit, how they've implemented it, which doesn't seem to be in any way make logical. I don't know, this whole clear and obvious thing, which a lot of people talk about, but it's sort of true that they kind of messed it up by it's a very small, error, but just by saying clear and obvious, you're basically making it impossible to define what that situation is, because you just say like, what does that mean? What does clear mean? Well, it means obvious. And what does obvious mean? Well, it's clear. Like it's just makes everything in circles, like a snake eating its own tail. Like it's very there's no way to define what that situation is. Like they just completely messed it up. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's. I mean, it leaves this stuff up to interpretation. So, like in theory, Iceland could implement it, and since everyone knows each other here, they could do it in a way where they all just sit down for coffee, or like you said, at a coffee meeting, and agree that okay, we're going to do these. This is what VAR means here. Obviously within the bounds of FIFA or whatever, but so in a way it could work better here, where everyone kind of is on the same page. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the Nordic countries where it has been implemented, it's quite varied what the reception has been. I mean, in Denmark, it's largely been positive reception. There was initial sort of complaints about delays or whatever, but they're cool with it now. But that's quite Danish. They're always cool with it if you just sort of make it a thing and say that's the rule. They like it. Norway the fans generally don't like it, but they had a weird situation where the smaller clubs outvoted the big clubs to keep it. Sweden, they don't like it at all, and they're the only top 30 UEFA league to reject it officially. And this was driven by fan ownership. They're like 51% rule, so the fans didn't like it. And then we already talked about the Faroe Islands, and then Finland don't really have any plans to implement because of the high costs, which seems quite relevant to the Icelandic situation. So I guess response has been pretty mixed. Fans generally seem to oppose it, but is it just a classic thing that you could be introducing whatever you wanted and people would oppose it because it's new? And then you see, like in the Danish scenario, that if you just impose it hard enough, people are fine with it?
Yeah, I mean, football fans are not generally, they don't always like new things, take two new things super quickly. I was at a few Norwegian games last season, and there were huge protests. I was at Vålerenga, and the fans that organized the protest, I think it was one of the first games of the season, and they'd organized like the ultras. I didn't know about it when I obviously, like I said, I'm not a Vålerenga ultra. So I walked into the stadium, and it was all very quiet, and I didn't really understand it for the first few minutes, and then I saw that all the ultra section was completely empty, and they came in after like 30 minutes fully singing about coming and bringing the noise after like 30 minutes ish. I don't remember exactly the minute, and to make the point that this is a fans game and nothing about the fans, and they huge tifos and everything on anti-VAR. So Norwegians were definitely not happy about it, but yeah, it's interesting that they got outvoted, some of these clubs. I don't know. I think this sort of fan sentiment is always a bit hard to know, because I mean, a few people complain about it. Does that actually represent everyone? Like you said, some people are just willing to take it, if and especially for people like Jamie, where if it negatively impacts their clubs to a pretty large degree. Maybe it's more the bigger clubs where you don't see the benefits as such. It's maybe the smaller clubs want to try to get the fair decisions in their favor.
I mean, this is a classic thing, right, where the big clubs tend to get more favorable calls. I think this is broadly true, isn't it? Just the pressure on the referees and things. And it's also that these little mistakes are maybe often much more impactful for smaller clubs. They can lead to relegation as opposed to just leading to dropping down a couple of places or missing out on a title. You'd rather want everything to be legit if it can keep you from being relegated. But it's interesting, like the goal kick rule of short goal kicks being allowed. I mean, that was a recent development. That was a change, a new thing, and I don't really remember any pushback to that. So it's not everything, but I guess this has a much more that has a clear positive effect on the game. I think everyone saw it immediately, whereas VAR, there's still too many little thorns to ignore, things that grind people, the delays, the sort of continued mistakes, the vanishingly small offsides, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for the goal kicks, it's more that people, there's a lot of, every time a team, and you saw it with Kauer last season, every time a team tries to play from the back, and this goal kick thing makes it easier. The short goal kick thing rule makes it easier for them to do that. There's a lot of complaints about, they should just kick it out. So it was more, I guess, the complaint in that sense rather than the actual rule change. But it's.
But I guess some of it is also because the short goal kick rule you can implement at all levels of the game, and kids playing football, at school or whatever, they're still playing the same sport. There is something to it, the fact that this is supposed to be the world's game, that you see people playing on gravel streets, on proper pitches or in alleys or wherever the hell you're playing, and it's always the same game. I think people have a bit of a problem with this, the VARing of it all, about how it sort of creates a divide between the elite game and the game that we all play. But 70% of our listeners said yes to VAR in Iceland. 3% said maybe, so that's a sort of 73% kind of yeah. Only 22%. Does that work? That doesn't work. We're missing 5% of people.
Well, it's
5% were confused.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or I wrote down the percentages wrong. One of the two.
But there's also we can talk about this until we're blue in the face about how it could be implemented and things like that, but we are also talking about a league. In the past 18 months, they've not been able to agree on whether alcohol can be sold at games. And something as simple as that. So are we ever going to get any further?
Yeah, I mean, we have plenty of things that we say every season about the sort of slightly lowered standards of professionalism in this league compared to other leagues, which I agree with you on. I mean, we talk about it all the time. So
that's why we love it.
That is why we love it, but it's also why we can't really trust them to implement VAR in any real capacity. They're not gonna find the money, and it's gonna cost way more than they tell us, and it's gonna come from something weird, and it's gonna be bad. And it's gonna be badly implemented. It's gonna have bad people doing it. It's just going to be ridiculous.
75% said yes, so that is the missing 5%.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can round it off with just to add another Icelandic story. There was an Icelandic story a bit linked to this unprofessionalism. FO played in the wrong kits because they forgot them, so they had to play in they had to get special permission from Nike to not play in a Nike shirt because they didn't have any kits. So they had, I think, some other company had to quickly make them for it.
I have to say though, not a big FHO fan, but big fan of that replacement shirt.
All right, well, I guess if you boys and girls have any comments about VAR or the lack thereof in Iceland, then drop us a line on the socials or comment on whatever, on Spotify or Instagram or what have you. We'd love to know something beyond just the 75%, but 75% saying yes, that's a large percentage. I wonder whether all 75% of those have sort of thought it through, or whether it's just sort of like, yes, let us know what you think. Do we just go right into the players of the round?
Why not? Star number 1 of, I guess, rounds 3 and 4 combined.
Yeah.
We will give to Elias Mar of Vikinga. I think it was 3 goals and an assist over the course of the 2 games. And he's really sort of hit the ground running since joining Vikinga. And they're pretty scary going forward now. Well, they already were, but even more so now.
I think it's again. I don't think we've praised Carwood enough on this podcast, so it's good to throw them a bone once in a while, and in that vein, we're gonna give Aronsig a star. It's just he's been a huge reason why they've been able to score this many goals. I mean, their attack is pretty deadly, but his assists and his goals and everything, I think he's top goal scorer for the moment with 5 goals, I think. And he just, every single game, he just bosses the other team around, and he shows it again and again why he's one of the best, if not the best player in this league. The fact that he stayed with Coed after almost getting relegated speaks to his confidence in this team, and it's as a Coed fan, it's amazing to see.
And then the final star is going to go to Tryggvi.
Yay!
Tryggvi Rapp.
Oh.
I mean, he scored 2 goals. 2 goals against Stjarnan, which the title decider, some might say. So a huge performance there, and hopefully a sign of more to come. So that's our third star. Is it if you score 2 goals, you're automatically considered for a star? Isn't that what we said?
Believe so, which I think would lead to maybe an honourable mention to Andrew Runar, who scored 3 in the last 2 games over this week.
Oh, yeah. I just found I have 2 funky fresh things to say before we sign off. One of them is that FO apparently are saying that it wasn't a mistake, the kit thing. So they have a black second kit, which they couldn't use to play against KR, but their charity kit isn't ready yet, which would have been their third kit. They released it in May. So they say that they had already planned this and made this decision, and this was a planned kit to wear the old blue color that was their second kit for a long time. And that the design is a tribute to the Aston Villa kits that Henson made for them in 1986, because these are made by Henson. So they're saying it wasn't a mistake, that it was on purpose.
So I mean, that might be true, and let's say that's true. But then again, that also says a lot. Like, why not announce this beforehand? Why not say? Why are you not, like, again, not to say that they're not telling the truth? Maybe this is exactly what happened, but this seems like a lost opportunity to not, say stuff like this. Like, oh, by the way, come and watch us, or we're gonna sell this, or whatever. It's just like they show up in a random kit and everyone is like, and then the speculations start, and then a day after the game is over and they're like, oh yeah, no, by the way, we did it on purpose and it's a tribute.
Well, even so, is it not still poor planning? Because, I mean, how long have the fixtures been out, and you play in black and white, and KR play in black and white, and you're scheduled to play before May? Like, have your charity kit ready a week early.
Yeah. Or wear last year's charity kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no. The other funky fresh thing is that... so, Jamie, how many did you get right in your predictions, you said? 3?
I got 3 correct results.
Damn, so 32% of our listeners were correct, and they said that you would get 3 to 5 correct. Only 11% said you would get all of them correct, which is a very high number of people making that sort of claim.
Well, I think one of them was me.
One of them was you. And then 57% of people said you would get 0 to 2. People have no faith.
I'm very disappointed in the lack of faith.
Yeah, you've just barely scraped by a better score than that. They should have had more faith.
I suppose, in fairness, my form at the start of the season in predictions was not exactly convincing.
No, but this week's listener question is going to be how many I will get correct. And let me tell you guys what I think is going to happen. This is monumental. I'm coming off the back of a raging success. So this is my sophomore album. This is make or break. So, Thor KR is going to be 2-1 to Thor.
A big derby win. I like it.
Yeah, so KR are going to think that they're in it with a goal, but they won't win it. Valur KR is a game and a half, and this is going to be quite the game, guys. This is one to watch, because Valur are going to score 3 goals, but KR are going to score 4. I wanted to say 5, but that's wild. It's going to be 4-3 to KR, and it's going to be beautiful. Then we have IPVAP Breiðablik, that Breiðablik are going to win 2-0 is what is going to happen. IPVAP are not going to be able to score, unfortunately. FH Fram is going to be a Fram victory. It's going to be 3-1. Keflavík Víkingur is going to be a destruction. It's going to be a 4-0 Víkingur win. And IA Stjarnan is going to be 3-1 to Stjarnan. And there you have it, folks.
Okay. A lot of away wins this coming week.
Yeah, you had no away wins last week. Look where that got you.
That's a very fair point. So to recap for you, you've gone 4-2 KR 1, Valur 3 KR 4, IPVAP 0 Breiðablik 2, FH 1 Fram 3, Keflavík 0 Víkingur 4, and IA 1 Stjarnan 3.
That's it. That's how it's going to go. Let's see.
Now landed with your famous catchphrase.
My famous catchphrase is, if the ball is pumped and the gloves are sticky, then hit the pitch. We're playing. Nothing rhymes with sticky.
Ever.
Well said, Jamie. Yeah, catch us next week when we discuss how I predicted everything perfectly. Let us know what you think about VAR. It's at Besta English, Instagram and Blue Sky. You can also comment on Spotify. Stay tuned.